Adding circles to your design couldn't be easier than with the circle scissor. The circle scissor will cut 120 different size circles very easily. All you need is the glass mat, the circle scissor disc, and the rotating pen blade. I'm going to show you how the pen blade works. It has a little tiny blade on it, and as you can see, it's right here. It has a little tiny blade and one side is sharp on this blade. That's the beveled edge. I'm going to move it around a little bit so that you can see it, and hopefully it'll catch in the light real well. The sharp 45-degree angle, that's the beveled angle, is the cutting edge. It's important to hold this in your hand properly because that's what's going to cut. If for some reason you hold it in your hand and it's tearing your paper, you know it's because it's not on the cutting edge. That 45-degree angle you want to put towards your wrist. So if you're right-handed or left-handed, you still want the 45-degree angle going towards your wrist. Let's look at the disc right here. The disc has a lot of holes on it, and that's because this will cut 120 different size circle. Each hole is just a millimeters different from the other. So when you're working with this, you want to move it around and decide which is the size circle that you want. I simply move it around with my hand to make my decision, and once I have that decided, I look to make sure I remember what number it was that I cut, because that'll be important a little bit down the road here. As you'll notice, the circles, the holes themselves, have little stems that stick out on the left and the right. You need that because this pen blade, the blade itself doesn't sit exactly on the stem. It comes off just a little bit. So when you're putting the blade into the hole, you want the blade to go into the stem that's coming off the hole just a little. And that way it fits right into that hole perfectly. When you're holding the disc itself, you want to hold the disc with your index finger and thumb. As you're cutting with the pen blade and coming around, the pen blade is a swivel knife. It'll move in its circle all on its own. When you have the glass mat, it's like having an ice skater on ice. It just moves right around. As you're moving this, you want to move your hand as if you're stirring a pot of soup on the stove. Notice how I'm not twisting my wrist. When you turn your wrist, that's when you get some errors in your cutting. You also want to make sure that you're using that finger and thumb. You don't want to use your middle finger and let your index finger hang out into the center of the disc, because as you come along around that circle, you'll try to avoid your finger and you'll come off that 90-degree angle, which will keep you from cutting a perfect circle. So if you have tails when you're cutting, that's probably why. I'm going to go ahead and put the pen blade right into the hole, hold the disc with my index finger and thumb, and just move the pen blade around as if I'm stirring a pot of soup. I started at the top and I ended at the top of the disc. You want to start and stop in the same place. Once I've come right around, I've cut that circle perfectly. Now, I want to show you how you can do some rings with this as well. I'm just going to move the paper over. Start in any hole that I want, but let's talk about those different sizes that I mentioned before, 120 different size circles. I want to note the size that I cut first, because if I add 5 to that size, I'm increasing my circle by 5 millimeters, which means that I get a 1/8 inch mat. So if I cut my photo in a size 70 and then I cut my cardstock in a size 75, I get a 1/8 inch mat. If I add 10 to that number, then I get a 1/4 inch mat. So just by changing the sizes of those circles, I can get different size photo mats. Now I'm just going larger randomly here, and I'm cutting right around. I have not picked up the circle scissor because what I've done as I've cut each time is created rings of circles. So you can see that you can do a lot of different things just by leaving that circle scissor right in place. But I want to show you my favorite trick. If you've ever tried to cut a circle in half, it's hard to do. When you have a circle and then you try to cut down the center, even if you fold it in half first, you don't ever get it perfect. This tool will help you get that perfect. If you look right here in the center, I have some lines that dissect the center of the circle. I just take this line and I line it up with the edge of my paper right over here. And once I've done that, now I'm splitting that circle perfectly in half. So now I would just choose whatever size circle I want to cut. I start out cutting on the glass, and I come right around and then hit my paper and cut that half circle. And I get that half circle perfectly. Isn't that easy? Let's look at some pages that I've made. Over here, we've done some cute things with the half circles and full circles. This is a CD tin. As you can see, I've got the half circles in the paper and the full circles in the photos. And that comes right around through the theme of that complete page. Now, this is a good project for using up some scraps and things that you have left over. Do you ever get those CDs in the mail, or after you burn a CD and you kind of think, oh, I got to throw it away, but you want to recycle? Here's a good use. If you just cut a photo from the circle scissor and put it over your CD, it makes a great hang tag for a gift bag. Or you can decorate the CDs, and then you have a cute little gift card that you can give somebody. This is just a tin of decorated CDs.